What's going on, HBCU Sports family? Yes, this is the third time you're seeing me this week, but we've had some very important news to discuss. And if you guys aren't familiar, I'm Chris Stevens. I'm a contributing writer with HBCU Sports. And joining me today, we're going to be talking about, well, what we can about the Virginia State women's lacrosse story that I wrote earlier this week. If you see the names gentleman on the screen, he was the only one that was able to go on the record as he's working with one of the families that I spoke to. This gentleman ran track at Towson, coached at the Community College of Baltimore, excuse me. And he now is the CEO of Edvocare, which advocates for special needs students and helps students with disciplinary situations at higher education. So it's my pleasure to welcome Derrick Terry to the show. Derrick, how you doing today?
I'm doing outstanding, and thank you, Chris, for the invite. And hello to all your viewers and people that follow real HBCU sports. And now I'm gonna follow. So I've been following, but definitely a pleasure to be on here. And unfortunate situations, but definitely a pleasure to be on here.
And we'll get right into it. Obviously, we've been in contact, for weeks about what's been going on, with Virginia. If you're not familiar, the Virginia State women's lacrosse program has had some, issues with, workplace bullying, as it were, with the coach and athletic director. And Derrick is working with one of the families. It's not too much that we can talk about because there's still a lot going on. But Derrick, if you can, just tell, the folks, how you got involved and, what is exactly is the situation at hand, as much as you can say.
Okay, so I got involved really as a favor from my wife. The client, the mother, I used to work with her when I used to be an educator. I was an educator for 18 years, and couple years I spent in Virginia. And her daughter was going through some issues at Virginia State University. So I got involved really when there was an assault on her. And I pretty much known the daughter off and on for years, but for all the years I've known her, she's never even fought anybody. So she's a pleasant young lady. And to me, the situation got out of hand when my client went to her lacrosse coach, which Miss Lawrence, Coach Lawrence, I believe that's her name, and let her know that there was a student that, well, actually not student, but a player on the team that was verbally harassing her. And I'm not sure what that particular player was doing as far as their social life, but there were things in which the player was doing that they didn't want to associate themselves with. So they distanced themselves outside of what they do in lacrosse practice. And this player sent her, several text messages, say, look, I don't want to talk about this, blah, blah, blah. And I believe, and then what happened, they went to the coach, I think her and a couple other players, and let the coach know, say, hey, can you kind of stop this before it gets out of hand? Just kind of summarizing. And from my understanding, the coach is supposed to talk to this player. And the next day, as my client was sitting outside of her dorm, and what we thought was camera. They have cameras there, but they don't work. The student approached her. I guess some words got exchanged. Next thing we know, within a 9-second video clip, my client was hit and really just trying to defend herself. She didn't hit her back or anything like that. Another player, I believe, stepped in, broke it up, and that was pretty much the end. That was about 9 seconds. And that video, I believe, was shared on some social media site, whatever it may be.
HBCU Shade Room. That's what I was told. Yes.
And based on the president's zero tolerance policy, both students were expelled from school. So to me, that didn't make sense. I said, well, how can you be expelled from school if you didn't even hit anybody? And the way that the zero tolerance policy reads, and I don't know it verbatim, basically, if you are involved in any physical activity, so somebody could punch you 5 times, you're suspended. The way the zero tolerance policy is written. I guess the hypocritical side of it is that they also have a restorative practice program, which that program really is supposed to be there to help students mitigate or kind of mediate, or however you want to word it, that situation, that never happened. So what ended up happening is that my client got pretty much expelled from campus, lost her scholarship. She was also a presidential scholar. And I found that to be real disturbing, that, how's the president of a university not engaged with his presidential scholars? I would think they would have some priority.
Yeah.
And she basically was able to get an appeal. So I was kind of like taking her through that process. And while we were doing that, I was trying to set up several meetings. On 3 separate occasions, I contacted the president. And I say this very bluntly. I met him in Charles County. We're fraternity brothers. I'm a proud brother of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So I thought because of that, maybe we can get a leg up and try to resolve this. Didn't get a response. She responded. She reached out, and we didn't really get this meeting until we had to contact a state delegate from Virginia. Then all of a sudden we get this meeting. So I found that to be real disturbing as an advocate, that I thought I had an inside connection to at least, get the players together to have a discussion. So both of these students can be, I wasn't advocating for the student, but, get them reinstated, because these are things that happen at college. People have issues, right. But I don't think it was at the level to where they should have both been kicked off campus. It just didn't elevate to that level, especially when she didn't even hit her.
Right. So there's a part 2 to this. And of course, once you finally got to have the meeting with President Abdullah and, different higher ups at the university, it kind of took a turn, didn't it?
Yeah. When I couldn't make it to the meeting, so we did the meeting, I guess teleconference, we're in a video conference, but over the phone. So prior to that meeting, I spoke with my client, and I said, okay, I'm going to prepare a statement. You look at it, let me know what you agree with, what you don't agree with, something that commonly an attorney would do. I prepared a written statement because she didn't want to read the statement because she didn't want to get emotional about it, which I can understand. You get emotional as a client when you start talking about the things that happen. So I started to read that letter. And part of the letter, I think, where the president became irate, in my opinion, very unprofessional, start yelling. There was I believe it happened when she got reinstated back on campus. And I can't remember the names offhand. I think we have it in the article, but there was two staff members that requested a mandatory meeting for all the female freshmen and I believe sophomores to have a discussion about, I'm guessing, this incident to a degree. And if you really, and it was taped. Virginia is a one-party consent state, so you don't have to get permission to tape anything. You can just tape it. But if you really listen to the tape, in essence, what the staff member was saying is that you're only reporting these incidents of sexual assault or whatever it may be because there was a student that was sexually assaulted. That's not my client, so I can't get in it. Well, I'll say allegedly because it's not my client. But what they're saying is, if you didn't defend yourself, then it's your fault. So it's almost like saying if you get raped or sexually assaulted and you didn't defend yourself, you're only reporting this because you couldn't defend yourself. And I was like, wow, I'm just listening to this. I'm like, you have to be kidding. So I kind of summarized that to the president because I believe at the time Virginia State was supposed to host one of the presidential debates. And in my opinion, they didn't take it seriously because they didn't want to hurt their chances of getting a debate. Now, I could have been wrong, but either way, that statement that was in there, my client agreed with it. So I'm reading on behalf of the client, and then he just went off. And I told him, said, look, I'm not going to do this back and forth yelling. And I was apologizing to my client and her mom. I believe there was another, I believe either his deputy was in there. I can't remember, somebody else was in there. And he just got loud. And I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to hang up. And I'm not one that's going to be yelled at. And he was, I would not expect this out of someone who's in a position of leadership to, it was almost like, which is fine. If that's what he want to do, that's fine. But it's like one of those things where if you talk to me like that face to face, we would have had an issue.
Right.
We had an issue. I was like, I'm just going to walk away from this. And so I just hung up. So, because he got offended. Yeah, he has a daughter, but at the same time, I'm like, this is not your daughter. This is someone who's coming to you saying that you didn't take her safety and her issue seriously. And to say that you don't get involved, it starts at the top. It really starts at the top. And I question his zero tolerance policy and the restorative practice, because it's almost like you can't be in heaven and hell at the same time.
Right.
In my opinion, hell was your zero tolerance and heaven is your restorative practice. And you can't be there at the same time. They can't coexist. You're going to be in hell, be in heaven. Which one? And to me, that seems like how the policy was written. And I don't know, who the experts are, but I've never seen that exist at the same time to be effective.
Right. So after all of this, and it's important to note as we're talking about this is still underway. So there's not too much we can say, because obviously, neither side wants to jeopardize, the ongoing proceedings. But just how frustrating has it been, obviously as an advocate, you're invested in, your client's well-being, the student and her mom, but just how frustrating is it to, deal with something like this from an outside perspective, knowing that the most you can do is just get them to be seen, but realize that the pain that they're going through is still not, something that you can feel, intrinsically at the moment.
Well, in general, it's frustrating because any institution of higher learning, whether it's or the secondary learning, should always be advocating for the student. And as a former special educator, I was a case manager, department chair, but at the end of the day, my job was to make sure that those students were getting the services they're supposed to get. Unfortunately, in some systems, I won't say all of them, that no, we want you to look out for the system first, look out for the school, then look out for the student. And I had an issue with that. And that's one reason why I started Edvocare, because parents sometimes they're overwhelmed with the special ed jargon that comes along with individual education plans. At the higher education level, sometimes they're confused and don't understand the policies that come out. So when issues arise, I always tell people that policy is your Bible. This is what you use to hold them accountable. And my thing is that you have institutions that either don't want to take responsibility nor want to be held accountable when things of like this come out. And it's a prime example. If they felt they didn't do anything right, they would have reached out to you. Say, hey, but you didn't get a call from the president, you didn't get a call from the athletic director, and whoever else you didn't get a call from. And you may not have still got a call. So the thing is, if I didn't do anything wrong, I'm going to say it, right? That's just me. But like you said, it's still under investigation. But the evidence speaks for itself. And I will say that my client is very smart in knowing that maybe I need to record these things. And she recorded them. So that, either the tape don't lie. They may say, oh, it's AI. No. The tape doesn't. The AI can't put swag in your voice.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's unfortunate because I didn't want it to get to this level. I really, really wanted them to solve this in-house, but they just went another way.
And just, as a sports organization, there's not too much sports involved here, but do you think that, just from your experience with Virginia State and this whole entire situation, do you think that this is a institutional failure, far and wide, or is it just, something contained to the athletic department?
I think it's a combination of both. I'm saying you're looking at a program, the Virginia State lacrosse women's program that I believe was in the second year of its existence. First year. So these young ladies wanted to be part of something special. Some of them had scholarships to, PWIs, or predominantly white institutions. They wanted to come to Virginia State to be part of something. And I believe that the coach failed them in the one key thing, having their back. Because as a parent, if I send my child off to school, I'm entrusting my child to you. I'm entrusting my child to you. If I have a daughter and a son, but if either one of them contacted me in tears about what was going on, and they felt that the coach failed them, I'm going to have a problem with that personally. And so I took this personally as someone who is a parent that I wouldn't want anybody else to go through. And I didn't know all the other things that came about until I read your story. I was like, wow, I didn't know all these other things that, I didn't know all this other. I thought it was maybe one or two, and it looked like it's about, I'm guessing, 4 or 5.
Yeah, I talked to 3 players, 4 parents, and you.
Yeah. So, and I remember your Dell State story. It shouldn't, we're at, when you look at HBCUs, those are where parents feel, think about it. As a minority, I would feel the most safe amongst my people.
Yeah.
I would. And I have nothing against HBCUs because my daughter, she went to Morgan, named after the school. My wife went to Morgan. They this legacy. They all went to Morgan. Shoot, I was supposed to go to Morgan, but that's a whole different story with the track coach. But I ended up going to Towson. But so I have nothing against HBCUs because I go to a lot of them. But my thing is with this particular one, and it's not to say the school, I still believe it's an excellent, outstanding institution of higher learning. But within the leadership, they felt this student and the other student athletes. They did it. And at some point, they need to own it. I don't know when or if they will, but at some point, they need to own it.
And I'll let you get out of here on this note. I mean, obviously, again, everything's still under investigation. Not too much you can say, but there's been enough to where people can watch this and make their own minds up. But if you were to, what do you think Virginia State needs to do? I mean, without giving too much of of the game away, if you will, what do you think Virginia State needs to do to make sure incidents like these don't happen in the future?
I'm hoping, I don't know the term for it, but I'm hoping that all the coaches that are there have some type of mandatory training when it comes to coaching student athletes. When they report instances of assault or whatever it may be, there's protocols in place, and from what I understand, my client reported this to the coach, and the coach never reported this higher ups, or if they did, they didn't take it seriously. And I have a couple other clients that sometimes it's difficult to remember everything from a particular case. But what I'm saying is that the process that they have in place wasn't followed, because if it was followed, we wouldn't even be here. And that's the way I look at it. And to me, the athletic director is hired by the president. Unless that's something different within any institution. So anything in which you tell the athletic director, they should have at least some weekly meetings or something to say, hey, we have this going on, just to keep you abreast of what's going on. I don't know. I'm guessing that never happened because according to him, he didn't know what was going on. So there's a breakdown somewhere. Right. And my hope is that, I don't want anybody to lose their job or anything like that, but their need, because this is her first year. And she's probably passionate. I don't deny she's not passionate about lacrosse, but you're dealing with college athletes, not high school. And she came from high school. You're dealing with college athletes. And I don't know too much about the assistant coach. Don't know what his background is. I'm assuming they're related because I see the last name, but they may not be. But I don't know what the assistant coach background is. So when you're dealing with college athletes, you're dealing with, remember, this is the stepping stone for them to get into life. Deal with real life. Once they finish college, they're into real life. And the experience that my client had, she doesn't even want to play lacrosse anymore. I'm hoping she changes that, but it was mentally exhausting. The things that she had to go through to even get back on the team that no other player had to do. And, without going into great detail, that just really, it was just a form of retaliation. And it also was, victimization. It was just, they knew what was going on, and let's make her life hell, so maybe she'll quit. Mm. And I just don't get that. I just don't get that. Whew. And unfortunately, she's not there anymore. She transferred out, and she's about to start a new semester at another school, but she's not playing lacrosse. And I tried to talk her into it, but mentally, it's just not there. And for a sport, you have to have it on both levels, mentally and physically.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll keep you updated on this. But Derrick, I want to thank you for joining me, man. Greatly appreciate you as always. I mean, you've been an invaluable resource in, uncovering all of this mess, because there's a lot going on here. But I definitely want to thank you for taking the time out.
I appreciate it, and thank you. And hey, y'all subscribe to HBCUsports.com. Donate. Oh, yeah, plugging that for you.
see, he's doing my job for me. That was how I was going to close the show. But yeah, we can still close it like that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all manners of social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Even Ken Rashad gets busy on TikTok. I don't know what he's doing over there, but he's doing it for HBCU Sports. So follow us over there. And once again, be sure to donate, as Derrick said. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully this will be the last time y'all see my face this week. And then if it is, please enjoy your weekend. Thank you.